I'm Deathstroke. You guys can refer to me as Death in chat. And co-commentating with me is another SMO runner, Turnt MOSFET.
Yo.
And we're gonna start this run up. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so this run, we actually do a little bit of of manipulation before the run even starts. And Turnt, if you want to explain that while I get my cap going.
Yeah. So it's called Daylight Savings Time Abuse, DSTA for short. And basically, with the release of 1.3, the community discovered that you can actually use daylight saving times to grow any of the plants in the kingdoms. But there's what we call seed moons, and it takes 20 minutes to grow this plant from a seed. But it gives you a moon after 20 minutes. So what we do is we set the time right before the DST changeover, going an hour forward, and that basically instantly grows the plant so that we can grab the moon within our route instantly, and gives us a nice free speed option.
So with DSTA that was discovered not what 4 months ago now. Wow, time flies.
Yeah, yeah,
We were able to bump down one of the kingdoms by about 20 seconds, I think.
yep. With the total amount of reroutes, I'd say it's depending on your level, but like if you're doing double clip, like 1.0 double clip, you're just under 20 seconds worth of time save, but for a lot of more of us mid-tier runners, you would save like 24 to 30 seconds of time,
Got
honestly.
a very nice right side cap.
Nice! Oh, we almost grabbed all the coins too, let's go.
My topper isn't the best. It very much isn't the best right now.
Sometimes it happens, you dive into a space too fast and then all the spaghetti falls out of your pockets, right? And that's just the nature of the game.
Yeah. Mario Odyssey really has this tendency that when Turnt and I were practicing, he put it best. When the wheels fall off the train just crashes.
Yeah. You always gotta keep those screws tight. You always gotta keep the screws tight. Hello, Jason. Hello, Kick, by the way. Fun fact, this game is almost half cutscenes. Say just short of 30 minutes is cutscenes with version 1.3. It's kind of rough. Lots of mashing.
And that may not sound like a big deal, but when the world record is 59 minutes and 14 seconds, that's a hefty portion. That's over half of the run, isn't it?
Almost half the run. It used to be over half of the run with version 1.0 when that was the fastest, but when Nintendo released the overclocked load times, we ended up saving a considerable amount of time across versions, and cutscenes are now less involved.
Oh, this is something to note. The last time that most of you may have seen Mario Odyssey at a marathon, you wouldn't have grabbed the moon that I just grabbed. With
Right?
the new version coming out last April that introduced VR, and more importantly for speedrunners, overclocked loading times, which means the game loads faster, so we don't... Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the overclock load times also involves a patch that was introduced in, I think, 1.1, that prevents you from doing first moon skip. So originally we were able to skip the first moon and go straight to the Madame Brood fight, but Madame Brood fight doesn't actually load. It can't load anymore unless you get the first moon. You can still get to that area, but you won't be able to engage in a fight there.
A bit of a rough Madame Brood fight, but that's okay. I have the necessary coins I need to progress through the game, so I need to focus on that.
Yeah, that's another thing with the new routes, you end up using less coins, or getting less coins, I should say.
So before I went into that boss fight, you saw me go and take the dinosaur up on the top of the hill and go into a trampoline. That behavior of the dinosaur is completely intended, but Nintendo did not at all intend for us to use it to get up to this boss fight early.
Yes. There's a sub area that's kind of near where that dino is, where you actually do use trampolines and the dinosaur at the same time to get the height. But the trampoline height is based on the height of the model that you currently have. So using the dino gets us a ton of height to make it up to that Madame Brood fight and skip a lot of Cascade Kingdom.
Had the sneaky movement underneath the chain chomp there.
Very nice, very nice.
And you saw me there at the end of Cascade Kingdom actually spin my hat out into grabbing that globe. So you'll see that a few times throughout the run where I spin capture something instead of regularly throwing my cap. And that's because the first throw on a spin throw capture is further than a normal capture.
Indeed. It's probably about 30%. No, not 30. Let's say 25% further. But yeah, it's considerably further, which allows you to do one less power roll, which saves time throughout the run.
But coming up here is Fast Action Guide Skip.
Yeah, and Fast Action Guide Skip is basically mashing V at a specific time through the menuing sequence.
I got
so
it.
that wow, very nice, very nice. So that you can save about a second worth of menuing time. And if you haven't noticed, this game is in Japanese. It is the fastest language for any percent. The first half of the game, Chinese, is actually the fastest. But adding the second half cutscenes and text boxes, you end up saving time with Japanese. And there you saw Death planting the seed, grabbing the bird, getting the bird moon, and overlooking the town moon. And in the time that he's planted the seed and gotten these moons, he's actually going to spawn the plant seed moon for
I made the DST.
DST.
I did not.
Oh no. So now we're going to have to go for a backup route. But usually the plant would have grown at that point. And that makes sense with the rough Madame Brood fight that he had there.
It's fine, I won't lose too much time.
Fun fact though, that employees only moon, the one that's behind the store, was part of the original Any% route back in the first couple months of the game's release. And it got routed out for an entire year and a half basically. And now it's back because of the DST manipulation.
And I didn't say anything about it, but first try Dune Moon is not something you see.
Yeah, Dune Moon is one of the most... There are people who say that it's one of the most annoying moons in the entire game. Other people say it's in the top 5 or top 3. And it's just because it's really finicky. The precision required for that single ground pound moon, for some just bizarre reason, is so much higher compared to a lot of the other ones. And it drives a lot of runners up the wall. Speaking of going up the wall, yeah, I mean, bullet bill manip can be frustrating at times, so.
I got it.
Yep. So what Death did there is called bullet bill manipulation. It is kind of an intermediate speed move. Basically what you do is you have to move a certain way to get the bullet bill to chase you towards the camera instead of away from the camera. Usually the bullet bill will turn to its left instead of its right. But if you can manipulate it to turn to the right, it will follow you, and you won't have to spawn a second bullet bill, so you save a full cycle of time. What a familiar route. This is what I did.
This is, the turn's referring to is this is what the old route looked like before daylight savings time, or at least the part that I'm at right now.
Yes. Oh. Dodging bullet bills left and right, dude. Oh no.
I barely captured that second one. So let's see if I get a Jaxie skip.
So
I get
Jaxie's...
charmed.
Nice. Jaxie skip is called Jaxie skip because of that animal up on the top there. His name is Jaxie, and that's where you first meet him. And so that's what all those little bus stops are in the game, or in the Sand Kingdom. That's where you can kind of summon him.
Cactus didn't want to move there. I moved it and moved back.
Oh no. So, since we're skipping all the cutscenes in the game, Mario Odyssey is about Mario's journey to save Princess Peach, go figure, right? From getting married to the King Koopa himself, Bowser. So he ends up beating up Mario and kidnapping Peach at the beginning. And you're kind of chasing him around and fighting these bunnies called the Broodals, and they're his wedding planners. So the first big boss that you fought in Cascade Kingdom, she's Madame Brood, and she's like the leader of the group. And in Sand Kingdom, they're getting a ring, and you just kind of chase them around and fight them as they collect the items necessary for Bowser's dream wedding ceremony. And another fun fact is that in this cutscene here for Sand, you end up losing an extra 5 seconds compared to all other kingdoms because there's the one cutscene where you see the ship fly away. And you can skip every boss fight in the other kingdoms, but they won't play this cutscene because it's a one-time only thing.
No one knows why Nintendo chose to include it for that single cutscene, but they did.
Yeah.
So moving on to Lake Kingdom now. You're going to be seeing some underwater movement using the Cheep Cheep, but first we're going to scale the wall that many thought was impossible at game launch.
Right.
No, I personally thought it couldn't be done.
It's so funny how we do so much like movement nonchalantly at this point.
Good back up. Good bridge ram.
So the Dram strat is named after the runner, I don't remember the numbers, but Dram. 55, that's what it was. I was about to say 44, but I was like, that's not right. It's named after Dram because he theorized and kind of popularized the idea of using capture warps. And that's basically holding Cappy out away from Mario so that you can grab an enemy or pylon or any item away from him, like with this specific timing.
Essentially cutting out movement back to the object.
Exactly. So that it's for better or worse. So there are things like Time Lost Dram and Goomba Dram there, which is a capture warp, but a bad one because you end up losing time because it's unintentional.
Coming up here is Rango, another one of the Broodals. His name has an interesting backstory.
Yeah, so he's called Rango because the hat that he throws has this boomerang action that goes back to him. So it's kind of like boomerango, Rango. It's an interesting evolution of the name. Oh, he doesn't get the spin throw though. So if you're really swaggy, you can do a spin throw as you're killing Rango. Well, you're not really killing him because he shows up again later in the game. But as you're beating Rango, you can do a spin throw, and during that animation where Mario lands, Cappy will still keep spinning around him, and you collect all the coins from beating up Rango.
You're stealing his lunch money.
You're stealing his... Oh my gosh, is Mario the villain this whole time?
That's what Bowser would like you to think.
Yeah. But I mean, like, look at Bowser in Sunshine also, right? He was just trying to find a mom for his kid, and here comes Mario just barreling down his kingdom and beating him up and taking his kid's future mom away.
So now moving into Wooded, there's a few precise tricks here that I'm going to have to go for and focus on, so Turn's going to take the reins for this kingdom.
Yeah. So in Wooded Kingdom, you're actually going to go fight the Boodles that are trying to steal some flowers, like a flower arrangement for the wedding, basically. And this is one of the hardest kingdoms in the game. There's out of bounds movement, some other technical movement, and
Didn't get fast
just a lot of very tight technical skills. So the first two moons that you see Death struggling on, it's called the Bunny Rock combo. And ideally what you do is that you touch the bunny so that he gives up his moon, and then you go and break the rock by throwing another rock on top of it as you pick it up. And it takes a lot of good aim. And then you go buy a moon and you do this route called Tree Route, ideally, that lets you skip some stuff later in the kingdom.
Normally you don't go for Tree Route, but if you're going for another trick in this kingdom, you'll see them paired together.
Yes. So in Tree Route, generally involves skipping some really cutscene heavy moons. But I kind of view this as a habit, but I actually use Tree Route as a backup moon.
So now we're out of bounds. And now I have to deploy some very tricky movement. Put back in.
That's too bad. So, unfortunately, he loses a big chunk of time by having to warp back to the Odyssey. But that's fine, because we got that tree. We got that Tree Route moon, which enables us to skip the moon that he wasn't able to get by clipping back in bounds. Because Ramp Moon, or I guess Nut on the Fence is the official name, but it's the Ramp Moon. That one is a little bit of a heck, because it's got some really specific jump timing that you have to adhere to, or you end up falling back down and having to try it again. That can happen multiple times.
Bit of a time sink if you don't get it first try.
Yeah. And it's very easy to tilt based off of that movement, too.
So we got the first half of that trick, but I'll take what I can get. It's not easy getting the first half.
Yeah. And it also means that because he got the tree moon, he doesn't have to do any backups, he can still continue the route as he was going. Oh.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
The hitbox in that Piranha Plant is a little weird.
It's pretty gigantic. A bit frustrating, honestly. Because if you do something like, it's called Piranha Skip, usually people pair Tree Moon, or the Tree Route Moon, with Piranha Skip. You can skip getting the moon from that Piranha, and go straight to the moon after that. And then you can kind of finish up the kingdom by skipping all of the boss fights and all of the cutscenes related to them. But in this case, if you end up missing that nut on the fence, you have to fight the piranha and get the moon from it. So usually, what Death would have gotten is called a FRS, or Flower Road Skip. There is a set of movement that you can do to basically skip running on that flower road and save you about 3 seconds of time? 2 seconds of time.
2 to 3.
Yeah, depending on how fast you can move. Because if you skip the flower road on the second half of that section,
Now we're in Wooded Tower, which has some weird movement where we're using the uproot to boost around and skip flower road sections again.
So motion controls are really prevalent in this game, and by shaking the controller, you can actually extend the legs of the uproot higher than normal. So that's how you can do these skips, by the way.
As I'm doing Spirit, if there's any donations or anything. Got like 40 seconds of downtime of bosses to fight.
Cool. That was actually like perfect timing. I was about to ask. We have one $5 donation from Kikaman. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. And the comment just says, "Donating cause good cause. Also, go Death," with an exclamation mark. So yeah, thank you for donating. Just a reminder, we have incentives that these can be put towards. On the Tiltify, on the left-hand side, you could see little menus for bid wars and incentives. So just a reminder, go check those out. You can put your donations towards that. That's it.
Thank you. So now moving out of Wooded here into the midway point of the game.
Metro Kingdom.
That's what the game would like you to think now, wouldn't it? So the game's going to tell us that we're going to Metro Kingdom, which was in all of the promotional art for this game, and I mean all of the promotional art.
Oh yeah.
But it's actually going to take us off course, and we get to have our first encounter with the big Koopa King himself. So I'm focusing on that fight. If you want to talk about the tech.
Oh yeah, sure. So, what we're going to be running into is our first mid-game fight with Bowser. Very typical of a 3D open-world Mario game. And what Death is attempting is basically what we call fast hats. And this fight takes 3 cycles, and you'll see kind of what he's trying to do. But the first thing is that he needs to get close enough to Bowser so that he can get the hat and kind of smack it out of the air before Bowser can get it back. And continuing out of that, he has to do some placement and some timing with his flips and jumps in order to
grab those hats midair.
Yeah. And the last phase is getting the damage boost.
You know, I'm gonna say I forgot to get the damage boost, but I still got the strat.
Yeah, you can do it as long as your positioning is good, and your RNG has to be pretty good too. Because if the hat directly next to the white one moves on that third cycle, it'll end up hitting you, and you won't be able to grab the hat.
So now
That said, we're going to Lost Kingdom.
To one of the most brutal and punishing kingdoms in the entire game.
Yeah. So we actually run this kingdom in reverse, and Death's going to have to kind of focus a little bit because it's got a lot of really tight movement tricks in it. And as you can see, he had to already do kind of a backup on the movement for a meme tree. And this is called meme tree because it's kind of a meme how badly it kills a lot of people's runs. But by running this kingdom in backwards order, if you've played this game casually, you know that if you run forward across the land bridge at the beginning of the game, or at the beginning of the kingdom, a vulture comes down called Klepto, and he steals Cappy away from you. And you have to kind of traverse the kingdom without Cappy. But the trigger zone for that is only in the lower section of this level. So by playing in this upper section here, you can basically skip that entire sequence of... Oh no! So he actually needs to completely go back around again. Let's see if he uses Moon Tree or the cage. Looks like he's going for the cage. So if the cage is broken, the top of that section there will actually trigger the Klepto cutscene. So luckily, you can still use it if the cage is there. Yes, very unfortunate deathline. Kind of sad. But naturally it happens, of course. But he's now back on track, which is very nice. And honestly, like, things aren't going too badly. You know, we're about 26 minutes in, and we don't really have to worry too much about our time.
Here I'm going for a strat where I go into the stone cage and get the moon instead of going for the cage that I used to get back up after Klepto, because to do the other strat optimally, you need to jump on the cage as you're blowing it up with a beetle, which is hard.
And not to mention the setup for getting the moon under the bridge here is a little bit more difficult if you're not used to it.
And I somehow made it out from under the bridge alive.
I mean, it's pretty forgiving. It's just hard to get optimally quick.
I'm not using splits right now, so by habit I'm trying to hit my split key every time I leave a kingdom. So now another one of these kingdoms that is super popular, but not in the speedrunning community because it can kill runs, is Night Metro.
Yeah, Night Metro is really fun casually because you get to take over tanks and kind of tank battle your way through the kingdom. But the fast strat involves staying off the ground level as much as possible. You'll see that we'll stay basically on the roof lines the entire time.
Opting for a safer strat to get up.
I didn't even know that was a safe strat, honestly.
Yep, that's what I used to use.
That's actually pretty quick.
It doesn't lose much time, but it's a little bit safer.
Much safer, yeah.
That's what I would recommend to new players, instead of dying right there.
Yeah, yeah.
I made it. Okay, so the inside of this tower is all cycle based.
Yep.
So
you saw him kind of like dive onto the elevator. So that elevator timing, everyone's basically cycle locked. There is one BTT, or best theoretical time movement, that allows you to get basically half a cycle faster. But almost no one does it.
I made the Metro Kingdom jump.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, the Metro Kingdom jump is a big Monka-S for a lot of runners, because the camera actually pans as Mario jumps across, and you need to time your cap dive so that you don't get stuck during that transition. Or you just know how the transition turns well enough that you can actually move your analog stick with the camera as you dive, so you can kind of change Mario's direction and aim it better. And then there's the Mecha Wriggler fight here, which a lot of people will get pretty upset over, because what happens is that they end up losing their runs on a 3 cycle, as they would call it, because the fastest way to beat this boss fight is in 2 cycles. But sometimes your hitboxes don't align very nicely, and what happens is you can't actually beat him in the time allotted. But looks like
Barely got it.
very, very nice. He had to back up pretty far, but yeah. So Wriggler's movement is pretty much a random pattern, or pseudo-random, I should say.
You can manipulate it to an extent.
Yeah, you can manipulate it to an extent. There are several given patterns for several positions. Sometimes they get really weird and he'll like do figure eights over his own body.
The hitboxes already aren't very nice.
Yeah.
So when they overlap, they do not like to play together.
And lots of players, they tend to prefer to have groups of 3. Because usually if you get one of those body segments that's unshot, it's really hard to hit it, because what happens is that it'll collide with the ones next to it. Your bullets will collide with the segments next to it. So in Day Metro, a lot of people kind of sleep on Day Metro, but it's actually a kingdom where you can bleed tons of time.
There I actually reset up a capture warp and then got it my second try.
Yep.
In order to not need to move back.
Yep. But that's an example of bleeding time. It's just really easy to do stuff like that. And messing up your setups for things like this scoop clip, but he got this first try.
Much better than I got in practice.
Yeah.
To be completely honest with both of you.
Commonly, what happens is that sometimes when people miss scoop clip, it takes them quite a lot of time to reset it up.
And got pole drum.
Nice, pole drum, let's go.
Picking up everything today.
Nice, nice, nice. Very smooth, very smooth. And you can make tiny little mistakes, like for that bench moon there. You can press A too soon and make Mario jump off the seat before the guy activates his conversation cutscene. And then you have to wait the 2 seconds or 3 seconds again for Mario to sit back down. Like little tiny things like that. But they build up really just tons of time loss. People, if they're kind of sleeping on it, they'll bleed, 30 seconds of time in this kingdom alone.
Coming up here, I'm actually doing a blind dive, so let's see if I get it. I blind dive from one moon down to the other, and it's a bit tricky if you don't know the setup for it, but I've been using a consistent setup for about 2 or 3 months now. So I was able to pick it up.
Yep. Blind dive is always a really fun strat to do. At least once you have the confidence in it, I should say. And you saw that Death kind of manipulated the camera upward. Oh, and he still dove through the moon. Usually what happens during that series of movements is that if you point the camera upward, the moon hitbox will spawn in time for you. Because what happens is that the moon isn't always available to capture, I should say. He got the really sweet spin ton strat off the top of the tower, but he still ended up missing the second moon midair. But then he gets what I like to call the star drop. That ground pound to the cafe moon there is pretty hard to aim sometimes.
I'm gonna be honest, it's the first time I ever got that, because I always get a little bit to the left.
Yeah. No, that's the same issue for me. I end up going too early. And that was another kind of capture warp strat where he threw Cappy towards the lever and then did a motion control shake, and Cappy homes onto it while Mario can roll away from the lever simultaneously. So it's a pretty fast series of movements there.
So now we're gonna do what the story wants us to do, and we're going to help Pauline gather musicians.
And so this is another kind of old school routing. We call it musicians last now because you do the musicians last. But in the newer routing, you actually do the musicians early in your kingdom, about halfway through. And then you do a lot other hard sections like bullet building.
Which are only worth it if you're really going for a world record.
Yeah, basically. Actually, at this point, top 10.
Oh yeah, that's true. They're all sub-hour at this point.
Exactly. Top 10 are all sub-hour, and you kind of need that for those really tight times.
So now that we've gathered 2 musicians and are abandoning the festival, we're going to move on to the next kingdom.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that any percent really doesn't get to experience the festival. Originally there was a shorter category called Festival Percent, but that got taken down from the category extension boards due to inactivity. There's a bit of drama involving that. But yeah, RIP Festival Percent.
This is actually on pretty decent pace coming out of Day Metro.
Yeah. 35 isn't bad at all. I mean, that was a fairly decent Day Metro, I would say.
Yeah, I think the issues are made up by getting all those tricks first try. So moving on to snow, there's not a ton of technical movement here, but there are 2 sub-areas in a sense that I will need to go into that I will have to focus in.
Yes. So in Snow Kingdom, the Brutals are actually getting the frosted cake. So I'm guessing it's a dessert cake. Since it's cold.
Oh, I'm not sure if I ever explained what I do whenever I throw out Cappy to the side, like I did during talking to Captain Toad, I'm actually doing what's called a roll cancel. And it preserves my momentum, which means that I can keep a lot of speed going around corners and changing directions without the game wanting you to.
Yeah.
And you will probably see some prevalent use of it here in Snow Kingdom as I try not to bonk into walls.
I like how you do that movement off the back wall, by the way, for the entrance to Shiveria Moon.
Do I wall jump off of it?
You wall jump off the back wall instead of the side wall. Like, I usually don't see that. So yeah, these little cute seal guys, they're called Snoodles, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But they're known, they're widely agreed upon as the cutest denizens of any kingdom in this game.
There's even an FFZ emote made exactly for that purpose.
Right, I forgot about that. So, do you have any shoutouts or anything while Death is concentrating? Well, I guess I'll give some shoutouts to the Trevor Project, providing help for crisis hotlines and suicide prevention for LGBTQ youths. So if you want to, shoutouts to Simple Flips, let's go. Shoutouts to just the entire LGBTQ community. There are friends out there. So yeah.
And big thanks to Speed Stuff for Charity for having us.
Oh, definitely. Yes. You know, thank you to all the staff out there. You
They
guys are
put in
working
a
hard.
lot of work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So this is one of like the very few possible sources of RNG in the entire game.
Not
The
this Goomba RNG.
the Goombas can be in different places, and they can just walk off the edge. Go ahead if you want to make an announcement. I don't know who's on that account. That time.
Okay, cool. So, with that last donation, I completely forgot to mention this, but we are just over halfway to our first bonus game. If you don't know how those work, it's based off of like the donation total that we have. So instead of donating to get the game played, like donating specifically to the game, if you donate in general, it just contributes to the general total, and then we get the games like a milestone goal.
Nice.
If that makes sense.
So
Yeah.
is our next milestone at $100?
Yeah, it's at $100, and then the one after is at $175.
And what game is at 100?
Refunct is at 100.
Awesome. So all y'all out there, Refunct is a pretty hot game. You can beat the game in under 3 minutes. And it's all just raw movement and speed. So if you guys want to see some really spicy movement and some crazy wall jumps, I'd hop in. $1, $2.
Absolutely, yeah. The one after
Don't be shy.
is gonna be, yeah. The one after is gonna be Luigi's Mansion, any percent with Out of Bounds. So 2 spicy bonus games in a row.
Yeah.
But in between those two, we have 2 incentives. Only like $5 has been donated to playing hard mode in Gunvolt Burst, and only $5 has been put into doing the perfect run in Mario Galaxy 2. So definitely donate because we have super spicy incentives.
Yeah.
Super spicy.
Very nice.
That's all I got. Good luck.
Yeah. Thank you for the shout. And again, more importantly than our incentives, we're donating to a good cause. So let's do our best. So I see that Death is actually he's opted for some safer movement in Seaside Kingdom here. He's going for this anti-bonk mentality here, because ultimately not bonking saves a lot more time than going on the bleeding edge and bonking anyway. Because usually you can save more time by making less mistakes, even if you lose time versus your maximum speed.
2.5D does not like me today.
2.5D is just absolutely horrible in every sense of the word.
It wouldn't let me wall jump that first time.
Yeah.
I've never
This
had
is why
that issue.
I do. That's why I do wall jumpless, dude. Just gotta learn how to YOLO it.
So coming up with this Cheep, you're gonna see our second out of bounds movement in a second.
Yes. So Cheep skip, also known as Seaside Clip. I guess not cheap skip, cheap clip. Pardon me. So Fish Clip there is a move that was discovered about 5 months ago. Yeah, about 5 months ago. And it abuses the fact that this kingdom has no hard boundaries inside the water. So it has a soft kind of rubber band boundary where it'll push you back after you stop moving away from the level. And so what we do is we uncapture the Cheep once we reach the end of that rubber band. So we stretch that as far as possible. And the rubber band action actually acts on Mario instead of the Cheep. So then you swim back towards the middle of the level and then recapture the Cheep. And what happens is that you'll get kind of a refreshed amount of movement where you can move out of bounds and start doing out of bounds movement.
Almost messed it up, but we're good. Almost let the Cheep despawn.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a risky thing.
Grab the moon out of bounds, all good.
And we're pretty much done with the kingdom now. And so the moon that we get last is actually the Sphinx moon. So when we're out of bounds, we actually go underneath and behind the Sphinx there.
And into the loading zone for that room.
Yep. Oh, and in this kingdom, we completely skipped fighting Brigadier Mollusk Lanseur the Third.
Definable point.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's quite the long name, but he is there to steal soda water from this kingdom for the wedding.
That's actually the name of the octopus with the lava head.
Oh, that's lava?
Yeah, it's lava.
Right, it's lava because you put it out with the gushing.
Gushing.
Yeah.
So coming up is another kingdom that I need to focus with.
Yeah, so this is Luncheon Kingdom. I feel like it's kind of a grotesque kingdom. No matter how pastel, colorful, and lighthearted it looks, the kingdom is made out of lava, and the denizens of the kingdom are stuck to the ground forever because they're forks. They can't move. It's kind of terrifying when you think about it, existentially. But yeah, you kind of use the forks to flick yourself around this world. It's very interesting.
Sure, it's gonna be an interesting fight now.
Oh boy.
F in chat.
Yeah, right.
No, F in chat.
Right? No, I saw it.
That has not happened to me in a long time.
I mean, you were low on health. Don't go for the fast strat, Kappa.
The fast strat is... I'm gonna get it perfectly yet. There we go.
Yeah, but the thing is that it's not free when you're almost dead.
I've done it so many times and I just feel...
I mean, it's still not free when you're almost dead. The time waste is huge.
That's fine. That's only, what, 20 seconds?
Only 20 seconds, he says.
Hey, it's no deep woods.
You can back up deep woods faster than dying to Speward. Are you kidding me?
That's fine. That's fine.
There are 3 free moons if you fall into deep woods off of Nutcliff. It's a pretty quick backup.
It's fine.
I mean, it is fine.
It's fine. It's fine. I haven't done that in such a long time. It's pretty funny. So now we're gonna pop our head and do a little sub area here, and then we're gonna come right back out.
Yep. Just quick little moon grab. Not much to worry about here. Just don't fall in the lava. That's actually really fast at this, by the way. As he walks out, just nonchalantly. Yeah, I'm fast. I'll just kind of saunter my way out.
It's better to do that than to roll canceling.
It's true.
Hey, Peach. Thanks for the good
Hey,
luck.
Peaches! Oh, and because of the camera manipulation, it dropped his spin pound input, unfortunately. And what Death did there, he had to back up the triple jump strat. Usually, you can grab the crate for that moon and make your way up simultaneously. But sometimes when the camera turns, you end up losing the jump inputs, so you can't actually do it properly. And that's similar to what happened with that spin pound out of the previous moon, too. Or the moon prior to the crate moon there. This game is notorious for input drops when the camera pans drastically and when Cappy collides with items that he's not capturing. Actually, a lot of rumble inputs in general end up dropping parts of the movement that you're going for. It's rather unfortunate.
Walking on the cab door. That's
Nice.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah.
I'd do a little backup movement of forks, but nothing I wasn't prepared for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not like me where it's like I have no backup. If I die, I die. But yeah, very clean, safe forks room. If you die in forks, you end up losing a nice fat 20 seconds also.
I don't like going for the other strat here because I've been knocked out of the potable way too many times.
So, what Death is trying to do here is a movement manipulation for this lava bubble. So as long as the lava bubble is moving at speed uphill, you can actually gain extra height. But it has to very specifically be moving uphill while going close to full speed. Oh no! Oh, you gotta do that now. So you'll see Death kind of slowly throwing the pans, and it's because the pan bro actually throws in a pseudo-random pattern. But if you throw slow enough, you kind of get something similar to like the AK in Counter-Strike, where you have that first shot accuracy. And it improves your chances of hitting the cheese blocks that you are aiming for.
So now we gotta light the lantern on this small island, which is the name of that moon. And then we're gonna actually do some fancy movement and scale a mountain in a way that Nintendo did not want us to.
Yep. It's some great movement. Yeah, it's really nice that, well, this game just gives you so many options to just climb ridiculous heights and scale just ridiculous distances. Like, Death moving across the entire mountain ridge there by nailing those small platforms is just really just good movement, you know?
If you miss those, it's a little punishing, so
Only a little punishing.
you can die and lose about 30 seconds getting back to where you were. So here we're actually getting a glimpse of everyone's favorite boss, Cockatiel.
Ah yes, Cockatiel. Basically, it's 6 cycles. You do 3 of each type of like cycle. You have to chase him down, smack him in the belly, and then climb his lava, because he spews lava at you. You climb the lava and then bop him on the head, and then you have to hit him in the belly, and then climb the lava and bop him on the head. Hit him in the belly, climb the lava, bop him on the head. It's
You can't
one of the
force
worst.
it any faster.
Yeah. There's no fast cycle for it. You're basically locked into a certain timing for it. Speaking of locked cycles and auto scrollers, we are rolling up to one of the worst levels for this. Actually, this level is only an auto scroller in
3D fashion.
every category. Almost every category. There are like 3 moons that you can get in this kingdom, aside from the story moon.
So this level is drastically out of style from the rest of the game. But all you do for it is fight this dragon.
And get some other moves. If you're doing bigger categories. But for any percent, you literally just fight this dragon and leave.
It's a little weird that Nintendo chose to go with a, I guess, photorealistic dragon.
A photorealistic imaginary creature, let's go.
Listen, I know what I meant.
But yeah,
You saw me
shut up.
pop Captain Toad there. That's what runners of this game like to do to
Pass the time.
pass the time.
Yeah, dance with Captain Hook. Or, infamously, there was a runner during it wasn't the GSA tournament, but, well, it was during a GSA Open Community Tournament, but he ended up dying 3 times in this kingdom, just playing around during the dragon fight, and ended up losing the race because he wasn't, he was trying to flex a little bit too hard, I'll say that. Yeah, this is basically in the community just a fat sponsorship meme. Usually when people are running this section, people shout outs to their sponsors. So shout outs to all of you in chat and all of you people who have come by. Thank you for your donations and thank you for helping out this charity. Make sure to tweet at SS4C Marathon. And if you want to check out the vlogs, you can always check out the highlights or Speed Stuff for Charity on YouTube. Wowee. Jigs, what's up?
So now we're about to move into the final kingdom that Nintendo wanted us to think.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's also Bazman Plays. It's the gang. We're all here.
So let's see. Bowser's isn't too technical, but there's a few tricks that you can pull. Like, what? I forgot there wasn't a cutscene.
Huh. Jigs Mobile is like going nuts apparently. It's like messing up his emote, like text. There we go. GG's. You got it.
Okay, so
Oh, it's that bonk again. The cursed bonk.
there we go. And we got the ogre fast.
So Bowser's is a really good kingdom for optimizing your movement, because really there's only 2 ways to play this kingdom, not including the mech fight. But you've got 2 choices, and that's Death already made his choice. But you can either go for Bird Dram or for Crate Game. But everything else given is pretty much the same. There's kind of a sliding scale of strategies for time save. But in this section, Shards, Death is going to kind of go for a safer route. The kind of bleeding edge fastest route is called, well, it's slipped in my mind. Right, dive back. But the dive back route involves doing the jump for the second shard early. And then
Dive back is nuts.
diving back, yeah. Cool. Haha, let's go, Jig. By the way, good luck on your run later during the marathon.
Alright, so now it's one of the scariest moves to grab in the entire game. Simply
Yep.
because of the fact that Cappy can slide out from under you.
Yes. And this segment of the game basically made Valu infamous for having a scuffed dive onto Cappy, and thus inventing the Valu dive. Valu dives are basically when the camera pans and your dive angle gets messed up, and you miss Cappy.
So here we're going topper first because that is the only way to play the game.
No, it is canon that you play Harriet first. So, see, you take damage if you go topper first, man. Done.
But I got fast 3 cycle.
Doesn't even matter. A very good job.
So what I'm referring to is there's a community meme in Mario Odyssey as to which brutal we are going to fight first, and it honestly does not matter.
Yeah. The time to save.
You have to fight both of them. So now I gotta corral Harriet.
Yeah, so you'll kind of see Death kind of running around the stage a certain way to kind of corral Harriet into certain locations, and that's because you can actually manipulate Harriet to move a shorter distance. She only moves to fixed corners of the stage, so all you need to do is kind of move her around and then hit her on her cycles, and you can save some time.
Alright, so now that we're out of what we in the community called the bunny split,
Yep.
we're moving into probably the hardest story section of the game.
Yep.
Turn's gonna have to take over because you need a lot of focus to not die here.
Yeah. So this is called Mech Split because of the mech fight at the end of Bowser's Kingdom. And Death is actually getting what's called the Crate Moon. So like I said, you can choose between Bird Dram and Crate Moon. So some people really hate doing Crate Moon because of how precarious it can be, I should say. Since you are essentially kind of going into a slot over just a death floor, a gap. But of course Death makes it look easy, right? And then you have a whole bunch of other movement here. Making some gaps and jumps. And you can do some climbing and dodging, and it's not bad. It's not bad. It's just very technical. A lot of motion control inputs. So all these Pokio movements that he's done, they're all motion control Pokio moves, basically. So he's actually shaking the controller to make the Pokio jump higher than usual. And then, of course, here's the hardest part of the segment, which is the mech fight. And he's kind of opting to do what is called the bonk strat, where you jump on the front of the leg and then ground pound off the leg. That happens. So he's backing that up now with what's called just the standard bird strat.
So now that we're on top of the neck, the fight should go smoothly.
Yep. That was a really lucky bonk, by the way.
Yes, it was. But I had already said that.
Cool. I'm not in the same room as you. I can't see these things all the time. Oh yeah, shoutouts to Safety Square. If you're too close to the ears of the mech, you end up... You are too close to the ears of the mech, you end up warping into the body. And if you're too close to the Harriet bubble, you end up getting thrown off the mech. I mean, in this case, it's kind of a wash, since Death is kind of stuck doing the backup strats here. It's kind of hard hitting Rango third, honestly. the timing's a little bit precarious.
I wanted to get that heart there because I do not want
Just
to
in case,
redo
yeah,
the whole
just
fight.
in case.
Because coming back up, it's not unusual to get hit by a bomb coming out of the mech.
Yep. So from here, it's about a minute
End of
to
cutscenes.
the end of your split here. So we can chill for a little bit. We got any more shoutouts that we want to make? Well then, I guess...
I almost had the birdless strat, but the birdless strat is a bit, it's a bit difficult.
Yeah. But I guess I'll give shoutouts to the SMO community. Thanks for all the support and advice, and good job on the tremendous growth that you've made towards making this game sub-hour, and soon sub-59 minute. We're about 14 seconds off. And there are numerous people with sobs or some of best times in the 58-minute range. So it's on the cusp. We're getting close to that.
Game's only been out for about 2 years. It's only going to get pushed further.
Yup.
Alright, so now we're heading into the final kingdom of the game.
Yep.
And I'm actually going to be trying to pull off some technical movement here at the beginning, so...
Yeah. I guess I'll take this time to explain vectors a little bit more. So what Death is trying to do is actually add momentum going to the side along with the momentum that he has from jumping forward. So essentially, he jumps one direction and then turns 45 degrees, and the sideways momentum gets added to his forward momentum, and it allows him to jump further and faster. Look at this guy go. He's flying through the stage right now. Like, literally flying through the stage. Like, you see that? So do you normally go for double rocket flower?
I do. I normally don't get it. I'm having some people in the community try to teach me how to do it, but there's a bit of a debate as to how to go about it more consistently.
Look, just do what CMFP and I tell you to do and instantly throw. Just get your stick angle right and shake. It'll be fun. It's way easier than doing the run into the flower.
Alright, so now we're going into the final Bowser fight, which is essentially the same as the fight in Cloud Kingdom,
It's
but
like
a little bit slower and a few more hats. Oh, and Bowser also breathes fire.
And he swipes his tail.
Oh, no, I stood too close.
Getting yeeted by that fire ring. I forgot about that.
That's almost never a problem. Doesn't matter if you grab the hat tricks the same way, then you're going to get a free heart anyway.
Yeah. Well, generally. Depends on the RNG again. Because if the hat next to the white hat moves, then you don't get the free heart.
So the reason we're staying in front of Bowser here actually matters. If we move to the side of Bowser, he will have to do a 180 and it takes longer to do the fight.
Yep. Because it kind of resets his fire breathing cycle.
This is unlucky.
Oh.
He grabbed it back just a second.
Grabbed it back.
It happens.
Yup. And that has to deal with the angle at which, like, Happy kind of knocks the cap away from Bowser. Because what is supposed to happen is that the cap is supposed to go, or Bowser's hat is supposed to go straight up into Mario when you're backflipping over it. But sometimes it kind of goes to the side and misses the hitbox.
So here's probably the coolest part of the game for me when I played it casually. I was not expecting to be able to control Bowser at the end.
Yeah, yeah. This is my favorite part of the game too. Mainly just because I'm okay at it. That's it.
I would say I'm okay, but I missed 2 fireballs and got hit already.
I don't particularly understand why you can fire fireballs that early. But you know, that's just me. I got my own way of doing things. Nice, nice. So what he's doing in this 2D section is basically called kitty skips. He tried to go for it a second time, by the way, and then missed it. But see, I told you, like, you have enough time to back that up if you trigger the control fall. It's not that dangerous.
No, it's pretty forgiving.
Yeah, yeah. It's nice. It's pretty nice. Yeah, we were having a discussion about that earlier during practice. And, he didn't have to do it at all during practice, but that backup movement that he did there, I mentioned it was pretty safe because it's happened to me before.
So here you'll be noticing that I'm shooting fireballs from far away to try to hit the pillars before I get to them, so I can knock down this big cube in the middle as fast as I can.
And you can kind of see the camera jerking around a whole bunch, and that's because the camera kind of automatically pans based on the pillars, and it's kind of frustrating, but Death is actually constantly actively fighting against the camera angle changes.
And we're gonna have time in a second. Time.
GG's, dude.
So a 111. It's not bad.
Yep. Not bad at all.
So that was Super Mario Odyssey. That was okay. I'm gonna be honest. That was the best practice run I've had. I'm very happy with that run. And then the game takes you to Mushroom Kingdom afterwards, but